Hi everyone. Welcome to another ACE Fireside Chat where we're going to be discussing Ultrix as part of the analytics journey. Today I have joining me, other way, there we go, looking backwards here. Fernando, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone. My name is Fernando Vizcaino. I'm an Alteryx Ace. I've been an Alteryx Ace for 1 to 2 years. Not that sure right now how long time. I'm working with Alteryx for 7 years now. And as always, I would like to always say that I'm in a serious relationship with Alteryx, only mainly working with Alteryx. Before that, I was working with database tools. I was working with Click, the Click platform, but I'm not a great dashboarder actually. But other than that, I think that's it. I'm a mechatronics engineer, and that's it. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. And then now, Thales, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, Andrew. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope you guys are having a great day today. My name is Thales Donizeti. I'm also an Ultrix Ace with Fernando and Andrew. Been part of the crew since 2019. Really missing a Spire conference. Hopefully next year will be fun, right? And yeah, I've been working with Alteryx for a while. Don't remember exactly when, but I really like to help everyone with their Alteryx challenges, either in Portuguese, Spanish, or English. It doesn't really matter. And yeah, and I actually have been more into Alteryx Server lately. So I really enjoy also, working with server, not only designer, but yeah, that's me.
Beautiful. And my name's Andrew Kim. I've been playing with these two platforms quite a while, and I love sharing so much. I literally just finished another webinar like less than 5 minutes ago, so I can't get enough of it. I'm trying to catch up to Fernando, who just finished doing a 7-part webinar series on Ultrix Server, which was incredible. So he's telling me next year it's going to be even more amazing because we're going to do a 12-part series.
Didn't know about that. Kind of new to me.
No, we're actually going to be doing a 12-part series next year, and that's because the journey always continues, right? And what I want to kick off for our fun question of the day is, how did your analytics journey first start? Thales, I'm going to kick that one over to you.
Wow, it's way back then, right? I think, I used to work with IT support, and I think when I started analyzing metrics from my support team that I had way back then, I think I started to like getting to data and making the most of the data that I had and even discovering insights. I know in the past few years, technology has grown so much, like the tools have evolved so much, right? Yeah. And back then we were more in Excel, but I actually used to work with Click a little bit too. And I think when I started to show executives to the metrics from my team, from my support team and everything, I started to fall in love with this area. And I will always like to get more and more and more insights out of the work that we had to improve the processes that we had. So I think that's how I fell in love with the data world, let's say.
That's incredible. What about you, Fernando?
Yeah, I think it was a long time ago. I think. Let me think about it. I think 15 years ago. I think not that sure. I think it was 15 years ago. Actually, I was during my engineering course. It was during my first summer internship. That at that time I was looking a lot for engineering internships, so I was very interested in becoming an engineer. But in my first one, I was actually looking through some sheets, some Excel files, and I didn't know how to use Excel other than the usual, some anything like that. But I was very interested. I was actually analyzing something around logistics. I don't really remember now, but I was very interested in matching two different data sets, and that's when I was introduced to VLOOKUP, and that's when I think the tables turn. Actually, I didn't give up engineer, but I start looking for data analyst work since then, and
Nice.
that's basically it.
And both of you guys are talking like that was so long ago. There's no way that you're even that old. I don't see any gray hairs, or maybe it's just really good video editing, right? Yeah, I think for me it's been, I'm trying to remember back to the first time I really thought about analytics. It's crazy because my dad has always been in IT, almost like you were talking about, Thales, where as he was kind of exploring and sharing some of that with me back when there was like really big floppy disks that we had to put into the computers and that were capturing all those Excel files and stuff. Um, I remember thinking, man, how do we make some of this faster? And then I was obsessed with money when I was younger. So, of course, I was trying to figure out, oh, how do we do some cool things? And that gets you involved in like derivatives, and you start going down the math route that Fernando was talking about, even with engineering, right? Hey, I've got to do this at scale with some computations. How do we essentially do that? And I think as we talk about exploring that, that's where you start really taking things to the next level. And I mean, as we talk about doing that, um, what do you guys feel like are some of the top skills now? Because it's transformed a lot as an industry since we started. What do you think some of the top skills are that our followers should be looking for in regards to taking their careers to the next level?
Well, I think that there are a lot of things since you have now a lot of different tools, a lot of different softwares. For me personally, and I think it's basically the same for now, is for me to start learning logics. So as an engineer, the only thing that I always say that I was able to bring to my current role is to learn about mathematics, logics, anything like that. And by learning that, or identifying those kind of topics, I'm able to understand all the softwares. Actually, it's basically when you know a language, so you know how to code in R, you basically know how to learn, you know how to code in Python as well. You can understand the logic. So I
Hmm.
think that's where you start actually.
I would add to the top of that soft skills, right? So it's really important to understand the business that you're working with. You know, of course, hard skills will help you get through the challenges that you have with data, but you really need to understand what you're doing, what kind of metrics that you're dealing with, even who you're talking to, right? What's your audience? What kind of people that you're delivering work to? Are they understanding what you're doing, right? So it's really good to to work through this and more of that. Talk to people and hear from people their experiences and understand the different kinds of businesses that you might be working with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important, right? And you can see there's so many different views, even from like Michael or Leandro, or even Yamil was sharing that he started working with survey data, right? And every single one of the individuals that's following us here today has a different personality and maybe looking for something different in the data. And something that's interesting that you highlighted, Thales, with those soft skills, right, is with business problems, they're saying in the future that right now it's about 15% of your skills need to be around soft skills. They're saying it's going to be much higher, like 40% over the next 5 years. And a good chunk of that's going to be because as we talk about some of the different coding aspects that exist from Fernando, right? And then also what you're sharing, Dallas, in regards to the soft skills, the coding aspects are essentially going to catch up where a lot of that is going to be automated through AI and ML. And then really it's going to be more about exploring some of those business use cases. And then you have to understand the code to make sure it's doing exactly what you want it to do, right? So as we kind of merge those two worlds together, I think what we can see is you've got to start with baby steps because you're not going to just walk in and be able to do AI and ML. So let's talk about those baby steps with Alteryx, right? What are some of the top skills that could really help you ace your Alteryx core exam?
I think the core exam itself, it's more like an overview of the tool of the designer, right? And the first contact that you have with the platform itself, right? And with the data world and things like that. So I think focusing a lot on the data prep and data integration features that Alteryx has, and also checking the community because the community helps a lot with a lot of the not only the questions that are in the exam but solving the problems that might show up in the exam. So community itself, like with videos, with the learning path, with the academy, those resources, they really help a lot.
Yeah, I think you have two options there. For me, I don't really enjoy doing courses, doing training or learning through tutorials. So for me, it was basically doing all the weekly challenges. So of course, for me to be able to do the weekly challenges, it needed me to start searching by myself for content or try and error. I love doing try and error. That's not a great tip, but that's what I really enjoy doing. So for those that don't really like studying, as myself, you always have the option to try by yourself. We have, I think, more than 250 weekly challenge, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a good option as well.
Yeah. And I think let's talk about trial and error for a second. As crazy as that sounds, something that I love about Alteryx is the fact that you can literally just hit the run button again, right? And then there's even cache and run workflow. So something that I appreciate is the fact that it makes you comfortable with making mistakes, right? So Fernando, as we're kind of talking about this, do you feel like there's some things that you've learned because you've made some of those mistakes along your journey?
I think, yeah, sure. So when dealing with Alteryx, I think since I don't have a coding background, I don't understand a lot about APIs or anything related to that. So it's always, and once again, I don't like studying, I don't like searching before doing. So it was always a try and errors for me. Even for complex formulas, sometimes I'm lazy, so I prefer writing a formula that doesn't make a lot of sense, and then if that works, then it's done. Of course that I need to spend more time doing the Q&A process, but for me that's life.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. What about you, Thales? You feel like there's anything that like just being able to have the freedom to feel comfortable of rerunning that has allowed you to learn?
Definitely. And not only rerunning, but being able to explore the data at every step of the data flow, right? And data with also the possibility to cache the results, which makes our life easier with the rerunning, you know. So you can, like with the rerunning, the problem sometimes it could take a long time, right? To maybe query a database or a big file. So with the caching options that Alteryx offers, you can explore more of that, and basically you can go ahead through the steps without having to wait so much to progress. So yeah.
And as we kind of talk about progression, Thales, from a career perspective, is there anything that candidates can do to stand out when they're applying for a new position that may involve some Alteryx work?
Like I think the eagerness to learn and the curiosity, that's something that will definitely help you with learning Alteryx itself, right? And getting through the challenges that Alteryx can solve. So if you're, like nowadays we say, like if you're a good Googler, you're gonna be a good professional, right?
Exactly.
And if, as silly that sounds, I think it's really important for you to not stop until you find the solution for your problem. That means like intense research, intense, trial and error, like Fernando said. And this I think this really helps someone to get a job, and any data analytics job, I would say, but also definitely an Ultrix position.
And Fernando, you had brought up code a little bit. Do you feel like coding or programming is really required to be in the analytics field or working with Alteryx?
I don't think so. If it was required, I wouldn't be here, right? So for me personally, of course, I was working with Click. I know a bit about coding. I studied C++ or C Sharp. Not, I have no idea right now how to code on that, but it was very important for me, and I think for the Alteryx community, for a lot of users there, it's basically the same as myself. We get a lot of we get really happy to be able to do a lot of things that we didn't think it was possible for us to learn. For example, APIs. I never imagined I would be able to work with APIs without coding, and with Alteryx I'm able to do it. So that's great. I think that's why, that's my personal opinion, of course, but that's why people are so in love with Alteryx, because it's helping you make things you didn't even know it was possible for your career, for example.
Exactly. And I think when we talk about those things that weren't possible, I mean, I never really imagined when I first started this journey that I would become an ace. Like that was never one of my thoughts, like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do, right? And I think as we talk about that journey, it just slowly evolves around like, wow, there's so much in terms of capabilities that I can explore and that I'm able to do with this platforms. And then it's more about like, what can't I do? Like, is there really anything? And then just kind of taking on some of those challenges. So as we kind of talk about the acceleration of that, we talked a little bit about coding. I look at some of the different platforms that are available from that perspective and see, like peeking into the future, are we going to have to learn how to code to be even just being better at Alteryx, right? And I still think the answer is no, for a couple different reasons. One, You have the intelligence suite that's part of Ultrix, right? And you can continue to see them purchasing other companies that are going to help with that assisted modeling, the ML, even working from a partnership perspective to explore that. You don't necessarily have to know how to code. I do think it is valuable to learn some statistics, right? And then to learn how to interpret the models and understand them. But just starting from a blank editor, right? Like Visual Studio, etc. I don't think that's a requirement anymore today. And when we start to explore some of that, it's just on that webinar that I was just on, we were talking about the salt stack, right? So I think SQL is a valuable skill. Do you guys feel the same way that SQL is definitely one of the ones that you would want to learn or at least be somewhat versed in regards to being successful?
Yes, definitely. SQL is I think, like it's good that it's in the middle, right? It's not a hardcore language where you have, to learn all the details and how it operates, like complex things like object-oriented programming or something like that. And at the same time, it requires a little bit of coding, like so I definitely think it's an easy to learn language, and you can provide so many insights using SQL and different kinds of databases, relational or non-relational, depending on what you're doing, actually.
Beautiful. And I mean, when we're kind of talking about SQL, I think that may be reserved for someone that is more on the front side of the analytics, so to speak. So maybe working directly with the database and maybe not as much doing some of the end insights where they're working with maybe Alteryx and Tableau, right? What are some of the common roles that you guys see for individuals who are utilizing Alteryx?
I think it's everywhere, right? So of course we can think about data analysts, data scientists, anything related to that, technical roles, technical positions. But now we have everything is about data. So we have people analytics, market analytics, logistics, every kind of analytics. So as we know already that Alteryx can you can work with Alteryx in all of the areas in a company, so you can work in any area as well with Alteryx. So it's a broader answer, but that's what I think about Alteryx. Actually, I really love Alteryx, so that's why.
Okay, so maybe I posed the question wrong. Is there anywhere that you guys can think of where Alteryx shouldn't exist or doesn't exist today?
Yeah,
Like,
that's harder.
when you mean anywhere, you mean like a use case or a business, or more
Yeah,
like like things that Alteryx cannot do? Because
yeah,
like being really honest, there are things that Alteryx can do really well, right? And there are things that Alteryx can do but not really well. Things that Alteryx cannot do, I don't think of any, because everything can be integrated with Alteryx basically, right?
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I'm even though like I really love Alteryx and we advocate for Alteryx all the time. I think when we're talking about analytics in general, the important thing is what you're trying to solve and the concept, right? So
Yes.
Alteryx is here like to help, right? To help you achieve your end goal, which is
Mm,
make more of your data, or generate insights and everything. So it really depends, right, on what your end goal is. Maybe most of the times, I think if it's analytics use cases, Alteryx will be able to help you. But I cannot think an area that Alteryx cannot help at all, like would not exist at all, because even every kind of business could use if they're generating insights from their data.
yeah. Yeah, the route that I thought he was going, Fernando, was to Alteryx can be used to make more money, right? Like that's the primary goal, right? No, in all seriousness, I think it's about making the world a better place, right? And as you're talking about that, Dallas, there's not any place where we can't help make things better, right? And when we talk about that holistically, there's a number of individuals that are kind of doing that. Like Ken Black is the first one that comes to my mind. He was just kind of talking about this in one of his blog posts where he was using Alteryx to look at geospatial trends in regards to some global warming things, right? And trying to understand um, where he could make changes, right? Even with some of his day-to-day activities and how he could make the world better for his children. And when we kind of talk about those aspects, you're right. A lot of it stems around integrations, and I think with Alteryx kind of as your base in terms of career, it allows you to span industries. I mean, as we're seeing with some of what's happening with the economy the last couple of years, it allows you mobility, right? That maybe others don't have the opportunities to experience. And then when we also talk about that, right? Data is data. I mean, if it's supposed to be the new oil, right? How are we going to go in and extract that? And I think some of those concepts are globally applied, and it really is about the logic at the end of the day. And if you're able to understand that and take that above to the next level, then it really just kind of makes a difference, right? So as we're talking with individuals who may not have experience with data, Thales, you had brought up the weekly challenges and the user groups. Are there any other places where you guys would recommend exploring to get some hands-on experience with Alteryx and analytics?
Like for starters, I think a lot of people come to me and ask, well, how can I get a license, right? And that's really the first question, right? But like if you're coming out of school or if you're doing any graduate or course, anything like that, you can always request a student license with the Alteryx for Good program, right? So I think this is a good start for those who like want to explore more the tool. If they don't have Alteryx at home or something like that. But yeah, I mean, the Alteryx community is really strong. So I would say, like, if you're learning now, favorite community.alteryx.com. That's the best place. I mean, I'm really honest because I learned everything I know. Like, of course, you learn working, of course, right? But most of the stuff that I know, I would say I learned from the community, and I learned not only seeing solutions in the community or asking things in the community, but also solving things for the community. Like me and Fernando, we both have more than 500 solutions, each one in the community. So we spend a lot of time, helping people out, and I guarantee, I think Fernando shares the same opinion as me, but I guarantee that helped me learn a lot more about Alteryx.
Yeah.
Getting challenges from other people in the community, solving them, trying to post a solution for them or even help them. I even connected with people through the community that I would chat through hours, trying to help them with any data challenge. So I think if you're starting now and you want to take to another level, you definitely should embrace the community and get into it.
Yeah, and when we're kind of talking about that, just want to share my screen just for a second so we can talk about what Dallas is discussing, right? Check this out. I mean, you literally have 30 days free, which is incredible. That's new, right? How many years have we been begging for them to extend the 14-day trial to 30 days? And then you can also see the new Spark ED program. So if you're a student, educator, or you're in the middle of changing careers, it's a year free. Like that's incredible, because when we start talking about that, not only is it kind of taking things to the next level, but it's allowing you the enough time to go through and get maybe designer core and then the advanced certification, right? So you can really level up some of those skills. And then we can even see Matt Montgomery sharing in here um, the advent of code. So if you're looking to learn coding, right, you can explore some of those aspects, which Dunker Lee's another ace. And then what he is literally doing is saying, hey, let's code some of these solutions. So that solution that you may have solved without code can also go with code. So I think those are really impactful in terms of making sure that you kind of take some of those aspects and begin to evolve them as your career evolves. And when we talk about those things, let's talk about books for a second. So when we talk about books, first of all, let's start with a basic question. When's the last time you picked up a book?
It's a long time ago. For reading, you mean, or for?
For reading, or in this case, like for analytics, right? Has there been any that you found that you're like, yeah, that book really helped me with my analytics career?
Yeah, it's been a long time ago. It's really, really long time. I don't even remember
Yeah.
the last book
Does
I've read.
does Kindle count?
Yeah, Kindle does count. Yeah.
Yeah, I purchased some. Actually, I like to purchase some analytic books,
Mm.
and read them in my Kindle sometimes. The last one that I read like from beginning to end was one about rejects. I don't recall like the exact name,
Mm.
but it was a great one that I like. I definitely improved my rejects capabilities. Using that one because it basically explains how it works, and not only how it works but also how you can make rejects efficient.
Yeah.
uh, so it was really a good one. And like for anyone that works with data itself, rejects I think it's a really good skill to have, right? Understanding how you can identify string patterns in your data, because this will help you a lot with different variety kind of use cases.
Yeah, and I think when we kind of talk about that, right, there's so many books that so I actually love reading, and I think a lot of it relates to um, Dallas, what you were talking about, more of the soft skills,
Hmm.
and then kind of problem solving, right? Um, so like the Black Swan is one that I enjoy reading. So it talks about events like COVID, right? And that's literally from a data science angle. How are you kind of predicting some of those aspects that are going to be at play? Um, and then automate this. So that one's literally a book about algorithms and like what is going to be, is there going to be anything that's exempt from algorithms today, right? So we can look at from our social media to Amazon being at like 60% from a recommendation engine perspective that we'll be purchasing something, right? You've got smart cities. That one's from Anthony Townsend. So he's kind of talking about all the different things that are at play with the future of cities, and then the signals and the noise, why so many predictions fail and some don't, right? So when we kind of talk about these different aspects, we talked about like failing forward or failing quickly. These books just kind of explain how do you go about doing that, or what are some examples, right? And I think back to some of the oldest books like Freakonomics, right? Just thinking of a problem differently, and you can explore some of that from a community aspect. So I'd recommend looking at some of those to kind of help. And then, as always, we have like Joshua Vorkow, who just came out with his book specifically around Ultrix, right? and I'm hoping to have him on one of the user groups here in the future, where he's literally going to share, hey, talking uh, straight about how to get started with Alteryx and just make an impact with your career, right? And I think when we kind of talk about our journeys, right, all of our journeys kind of intersected here at Data Meaning. So what have been some of the things that you've really taken away from like learning wise here at Data Meaning with Alteryx?
So could you rephrase the question? What was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, so what are some of the things with Data Meaning and Alteryx that you feel like you've really taken away from a career perspective?
Oh, I think that there are a lot of things. I'm here in data meaning for 4 months now. There's not a lot of time here. Uh, Actually, I was, as Thales mentioned, in the community, we were, by helping others, we're learning a lot, right? But one thing that was, I start seeing here in data mining is that I'm dealing with a lot of different customers, a lot of different problems that I didn't know existed. So I was working in Brazil with Brazilian clients, and now I'm working with a lot of different customers at the same time, a lot of different platforms. So for me, if you want a challenge, if you want to learn everything related to Alteryx, so that's my takeaway. Now I can see myself as an Alteryx specialist. So I can see that I can answer everything in the community. No, not everything, 99%. But that's basically it for me.
That's going to be the challenge, Fernando. When you hit that 1 year mark, we've got to be able to answer all the questions on the community. We've kind of
No, that's
we got to finally beat out Mark Frisch, right? We can make it happen.
yeah. Let's try. Let's try that.
I think he's not even at the top anymore. Didn't that Atco dog pass him?
He's pretty quick. He's pretty quick, yeah. And what about you, Thales?
um, I don't know. I mean, like it's interesting, like it's interesting how like in some jobs or even using some tools, there's you reach a level where you cannot learn anything else. You're like everything and basically you've seen everything, how everything works. And at data meaning and with Alteryx, it's always something new that I was like, what the heck, I didn't even know like this was possible, like or yeah, I mean, I don't even know what this guy's talking about, like when he presents some weird use case using Alteryx. And I feel that way, like we're always learning. And I think it's one of the, I think it's one of the themes that Alteryx have: never stop learning, right? And
Hmm.
that has everything to do with Alteryx. I think even like the developer tool, and they thought like this is gonna be good for that, right? But when they started exploring more and more and more, you see like the possibilities are endless, and you face a new challenge every day. And even though, like Fernando said, oh, I can answer most of the questions from the community, sometimes I even open the community and I say, what the heck is this guy talking about?
Yeah, I think that's incredible. I mean, like you said, I mean, every day presents a lot of different challenges, and being able to kind of rise to the occasion. One of my friends had told me, he's like, man, now that you're in the consulting world, expect it to be like 3 years for every year, um, like in a normal job or normal company, right? And I sit there and I think about that, and I'm like, yeah, and then you've got another additional factor, right? Like Alteryx is there, and like really that's like a squared ratio, right? So now we're talking like I almost feel like we're learning 9 times as fast as maybe others are, right? And when we look at that, it's because of just the variety of exposure to different industries. I mean, everything from like government sector to um, IoT, health related things. You've got I mean, consumer packaged goods, manufacturing. I mean, it just runs the gamut. Chemicals. You've got uh, like travel tourism. Thales, you're working right now on a couple different projects that kind of explore different industries as well. And as we kind of look at that, what I see is some opportunities for us to kind of share, right? And at the beginning of the conversation, um, Talis, you had mentioned Inspire. What are you looking forward to the most for Inspire 2022? So we can all get inspired about our proposals for speaking at the conference that are coming up here quickly.
But I think one of the top things is getting together with everyone again, right? And I think
Yes.
we all are waiting for that after this pandemic that we're still going through, but we hope like it's controlled by them, right? And it's it's this feeling inside me grows every time that I think about it, because it's been like 3 years. It's going to be 3 years from the last conference when we were there in 2022, right? So I think that's the best thing, because even though we have virtual conferences, it's very good to learn. It's very there's a lot of content out there, and I'm sure like in 2022 we're not going to miss any of that. But getting together with people, doing that network, talking to people from everywhere in the world, and in every kind of business as well, right? Like we said, Alteryx is agnostic in terms of business, right? In terms of use case. So we see like people from from really different businesses that we're not even used to. So this kind of experience for me is what I make the most out of Inspire, is having that ability to share and be with everyone in that place, and learn so much from others.
Awesome. And are you going to share what some of the topics are that you're going to present on next year, or is it still
Yeah,
top
no,
secret?
definitely something about server. So I'm
All
working on
right.
that.
All right.
So you guys can expect seeing very cool tricks with server. So the end goal is to explore, because I think server, we see a lot in designer, right? We see a lot of different things that we can do with designer, but there's so much more to explore with server.
Mm,
I see a very powerful platform for automation in general. So, and the scalability that it has as well, right?
mhm.
So I'm definitely going to present something interesting in server over there.
Nice. Fernando, what are you looking forward
Not
to?
sure about the presentation on Inspire. I didn't really think about that. But the thing that I expect the most about Inspire actually are the keynotes. I really enjoy the keynotes,
Mm,
the Grand Prix. I love the show actually. I've been to Inspire only once, to the London Inspire, and that's actually when I decided to become an ace. I took a
mm,
picture with Mark Fritsch. I think that's when I decided, man, I need to become an ace. And actually, that's quite sad for me. But when I became an ace, and I think I would receive a trophy for being an Alteryx top contributor, and I didn't get anything about that since it was the pandemics. That's really sad for me. I think I saw a picture from Thales that he was holding a trophy. So that's I really want that.
it's because Dallas hasn't given up the trophy yet, man. That's why they keep asking him back
Yeah,
for it.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
with
yeah, I think you're talking about is the community, the top community,
yeah,
top
exactly.
top contributor, right? Title. It was, yeah, it was really fun, this one to be given. And yeah, I mean, and it's a moment where we can talk to even people that we just know from the community, right? Like my example, I spent so much time in community. I was generally I was seeing like some folks that were every time in a topic, discussing something or even presenting a solution. We'll talk, we'll maybe make a joke or something about some kind of problem, and right there at Inspire, I can meet them personally, and we can share so much. So it's very fun.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess one of my questions for that, should Alteryx add the community handle on the badges for Inspire this year? Should they put that on there so then we can be like, oh yeah, I know who you are. Like I
Yeah,
recognize you from the
that
community.
that would be great. That would
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah, that would be nice. Really, I think in the last Inspire we had an app, right, where
Hmm.
we could connect to people in there. But it would be great to have their people's nicknames or from the community.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't think any of us have any crazy ones, so we might not have a problem with that. But maybe some people are trying to keep it anonymous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I've seen some fun ones. I'm not gonna share, of course, because I don't wanna, I don't
Embarrass
wanna
anybody.
drive, yeah, or drive interest on their community profiles, right? But I've
Yeah,
seen pretty fun ones.
yeah. I think the part that I'm looking forward to most is just helping others present. Like I've spent a lot of years presenting, and I think with the just a broad cross section of use cases. I was thinking about this the other day, how many people we've helped in their journey, and I think at this point I might have crossed like the 5,000 threshold, and just to think about that type of impact is incredible. And so when we're doing that, Eric asked a really great question here. He's asking, um, for those who are just starting their journey with analytics, right? What are some of the things, like first projects that they could be taking on to make a significant impact for their companies? And I think it's my suggestion would be going through that thought process itself, right? So identifying what those use cases are, and then you can start very basic, right? And we're even doing this here internally within data meaning. Um, what data would you need to even solve that problem? And you could start very simply, right? With literally an input tool and a browse tool. Can your data even support finding any insights, right? If you start there, I mean, that's very basic. And ironically, that's what happens with most data science use cases is the question becomes, can you even get there, right? That's the first question that you need to ask, or is there something that you need to change in order to allow that path to occur? Um,
Yeah, I think like the value that you can take of Alteryx, it's basically how easy it is to build a process, some analytic process, and how fast it is to get the final result, right? We help customers every day that they have all these crazy processes in Excel, or even they integrate with different other tools, and they spend so much time doing that manual work. And
mhm.
then when we show them Alteryx, they're like so excited because it's like you said, Andrew, you just rerun the whole thing, run multiple times, and then you get that result in seconds, and or even a few minutes. So I think if you can extract that kind of value, if you have some kind of bottleneck that you have in your company or in your department, or anything that you're doing, and you can use Alteryx to speed that up, or even save some time from your day. That can, I think that's the initial point that you can start with. And then after people see that kind of value, you start expanding, because you can do so many other things with the platform.
Mm, that's great, Dallas. Fernando, did you have anything to add there?
I think you answered it all. you both. So
He's just exhausted. He hasn't built up his
no,
endurance
no.
yet. Yeah, I think Fernando of all three of us is actually helping people accomplish those first projects. Right now, of all three of us, he's probably the most hands-on with that. And when we discuss that, I mean, as Thales highlighted, it could literally just be in minutes, right? That you're capturing some of that. Um, Michael, who I was just on a webinar with, was talking about how his first workflow um, they did in about 20 minutes, and then it could run within a few minutes, and it was literally saving him hours every week, right? So as we kind of look at being able to save that amount of time, that frees up things for like watching our data in the wild videos, right? Most of those are under 10 minutes. So if you freed up an hour, literally you could watch 6 videos, right? And then you could become a data in the wild YouTube junkie and get your fix on all these analytic insights, right? How to kind of achieve some of those things. And when we talk about those aspects, I'm really excited for 2022. And what I am most excited for is all the content that we're going to be building out. And I guess that's a question for everybody is what's some of the content that you would want to see next year in addition to like that 12-part Alteryx server series. That won't all be Fernando. He'll he'll be coughing up dust bunnies by the time he's done speaking through all those, or he might strangle me a little bit, right? That's because we're going to have him doing the Connect series, the 4-part series instead. I can see his eyes just like glazing
Oh
over, right?
man. So excited, so excited to do that.
Yeah, we actually have an expert here in house that's going to be talking about data governance. We're going to be doing that's James Nanscon, who's going to be doing weekly session around data governance from a thought leadership perspective. And we're going to do a 4-part series specifically around how Alteryx Connect can kind of help with those data governance aspects, right? And data cataloging. And then some of the other things that I'm excited for is we're going to continue ramping up some of the data in the wild videos. So if you're not checking those out already, right now it's 2 a week. Actually, that's a lie. It's 3 a week if you've been paying attention. We've been amping it up slowly. So we're going to continue working on that at the beginning of the year where you're going to see even more content almost every day of the week. And then if you want to be inspired, right, until the conference comes, we've got our quote of the day that you can check out every single day for inspiration. And FYI, that was cleaned by an Alteryx workflow.
That's true.
And it's actually from a Tableau dashboard, believe it or not. So we're really drinking the Kool-Aid here when we talk about some of this stuff.
Ultrix can create inspirational quotes.
Yeah.
Even do that, right?
Exactly. Awesome. Well, is there anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up here?
Yes, thanks for watching. Keep in mind that we are, as AK said, we are posting a lot of videos in our YouTube channel. We have a lot of content there. I think for me personally, it's growing even better than the Alteryx community. So you have a lot of different topics going on there for designer, for server, for anything whatsoever. So go there, check it out. It's a great channel actually.
It's over 100 videos already, Fernando. It's incredible, and that number, I'll just give a quick hint here, is going to triple by the end of next year. So we're definitely going to be plowing ahead with some of that. And then Thales, is there anything you wanted to share before we wrap up here?
No, I just want to again thank you all for being here, and I'm really excited about next year. Being really honest, with everything coming back and the pandemic, hopefully being close to an end. And I think, a lot of networking experiences can happen. I mean, even those virtual events that we're having, right? Even this webinar, maybe we can do one live, right, Andrew, at some point.
Shh, you're giving
Uh,
away all the secrets for the conference, man. Yeah, that's it. That's the exciting part is like I look at all these opportunities and even just the three of us being together, right? Doing that in person, those are going to be huge. And then I think what Thales is also implying is he's going to stay here at my house for a couple months, right, to do some live sessions here.
but you're so busy with the baby, so.
Oh, I knew that was going to come up. David was gonna scare everybody away. We should have had one a long time ago. This would have taken care of everything. No more house guests. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. And remember that we do these every month. So make sure to follow us on LinkedIn as you'll go ahead and see the post for the next session. And as we wrap up the year and kind of getting into the holiday spirit, that topic is going to be Alteryx for Good. All right. Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
guys. Have a good one.